Japan Tzu Chi volunteers go to the Kansai area to assess damages and provide food for residents. Tzu Chi volunteers orders training class to join local governments and NGOs with flood cleaning efforts. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Margaret Lin. Thank you for joining us. In the aftermath of the floods in Japan's Kansai area, affected residents in Okayama Prefecture have been staying at temporary shelters. On July 11th, Tzu Chi's disaster assessment has arrived in the disaster area. In addition, Tzu Chi volunteers are providing food at one of the temporary shelters.
Tzu Chi's 6-man disaster assessment team has arrived in Mabi town of Okayama Prefecture on July 11th. After the floodwater receded, the residents have cleared out a large amount of furniture and other household items. Since there's no water or electricity, rising dust is a serious problem. To care for the affected residents, many charity organizations have come to the disaster area, with some pharmacists providing prescription medications. 8 Tzu Chi volunteers prepare hot soup at an elementary school, which has become a shelter on July 12th. Adding tomatoes, mushrooms, and eggs to the soup, the volunteers hope the soup can suit the taste of Japanese people. Besides soup, they have also prepared a cold vegetable dish with sesame sauce. At the shelter for flood survivors, it is necessary to clean the environment. One volunteer who runs a cleaning company has come to volunteer with his wife's encouragement.
This is my first time volunteering, working with everyone. I've seen how Tzu Chi volunteers work really hard. Seeing how everyone is working diligently, I'm deeply touched.
The hot soup served on the second day is miso soup, which is what Japanese people enjoy drinking. As the volunteers serve it at the shelter, people feel much better. In the elementary school gym, clothes and daily supplies became available for flood survivors since July 13. So the volunteers also helped and organized these items. As the relief work provided by the government has become available, the mayor of Kurashiki arrives at the scene to care for the flood survivors as well as learning about Tzu Chi's work.
Chiki's city government is with everyone. However, more than 8,000 residents have lost their homes, and they are very worried about how they can get back on their feet. If Tzu Chi volunteers can lend us a hand, I would be very grateful.
As people who are safe help those who have been displaced, they hope to help them get through the tough times.
The residents have begun cleaning up their communities, but in Kurashiki City, more than 90% of the people are still displaced, and they face a long road in rebuilding their homes. Here is our report.
In the aftermath of the torrential rain, the traditional houses in Kurashiki of Okayama Prefecture have been covered with mud. As houses have been destroyed or damaged, many people have been displaced.
When the water rushed in, it was up to my chest. I hid on the second floor, calling out for help from the window. I did not come down until I got on the lifeboat.
Recalling the night when it flooded, Ms. Yamaguchi still feels frightened. So the volunteer was there to care for her with compassion, calming her anxious mind. Kurashiki is the second main industrial city in western Japan. However, after the torrential rain led to devastating floods, the prosperity of the past is no longer visible. The volunteers have come to Ms. Yamaguchi's house, which has been heavily damaged. Ms. Yamaguchi and her husband do not know how to begin the massive cleanup in the aftermath of the flood. The volunteers do their best to help out during their visit. They hope people will help each other to restore the former glory of Kurashiki City.
The situation in Venezuela has been unstable since 2014. The country continued to suffer from economic recession and inflation, leading to almost all its citizens to experience food shortages. Although volunteer Liu Yannuan has not been able to run his business, he chose not to leave the country. He still pays regular visits to nursing homes and brings needy supplies to elderly people. Venezuela, a top oil-producing country in its region, making it once the richest country in Latin America. But now it is on the verge of economic collapse. It is now facing problems of political corruption, economic recession, and inflation, leading its people to live a difficult life. This humanitarian crisis seems to have no end. While many Asian people are fleeing in Venezuela, volunteer Liu Yannuan remains committed to this country. The charity work conducted by him wasn't interrupted, though his wife temporarily left Venezuela to work in the United States. The regular care visits to nursing homes is now conducted by him along with several volunteers. Volunteers started to care for this Catholic nursing home since 2016. Recently, 26 elderly people have been undernourished due to food shortages, so volunteers specially sent the supplies they needed. The supplies included butter, ketchup, mayo, flour, and rice. Although there were not many items, they were full of the volunteers' love. In addition to distributing the supplies to meet the seniors' needs, volunteers also happily talk with the elderly. This interaction allowed all the participating young volunteers to experience the joy of giving. In China, torrential rain flooded Sichuan, leaving a muddy mess in Huaikou. In the aftermath of the disaster, local governments and NGOs immediately started up the cleanup operation. Tzu Chi volunteers also joined the cleanup efforts to help the community get back on their feet as soon as possible. When the weather cleared, the water receded and a crowd of people immediately came out to clean the debris. Torrential rain flooded Chengdu, Sichuan, causing more than 700 shops near the coast of Huaikou to be severely impacted.
The mud is very hard and the depth of mud is very deep. It's about 15 to 20 centimeters in depth.
The government has dispatched heavy equipment to help us in the recovery process. In addition to shop owners themselves, many local NGOs also joined the cleanup efforts. The recovery process went a lot faster due to the efforts of 6 young, highly sportive men. The mud was thick and heavy, but nothing stopped them from always being the ones standing in the front, speeding up the cleaning process.
We definitely feel tired physically, but it's not a big deal because we do physical training on a regular basis. You can see there are very few young people here today, so it's our duty to do more at a faster rate. Besides, the 6 of us are all men. We should be the ones doing hard labor.
Tzu Chi volunteers also prepare hot tea and snacks to replenish everyone's strength. Despite the heat and hard work, the volunteers all enjoy the happiness of helping the people in need. Due to the flooding, the Tzu Chi volunteers in training retreat stays were temporarily put on hold. This allowed everyone to get a hands-on experience of the joy of helping others who are in need.
When I first saw it, I didn't want to walk in because it was very muddy and it smelled very bad. I felt quite dizzy in that moment, but later I got up the courage to go in with the other Tzu Chi volunteers. To my surprise, I felt very happy after doing the cleaning. Seeing that we were able to clean up the environment, I felt very joyful to be able to be a part of this team effort.
I'm thankful for the neighborhood and everyone around me. We don't want to do anything else today. The only thing we want to do is clean up the streets and minimize the damages caused by the disaster.
Several days of heavy rainfall caused huge losses to the shops and households in the community. The mud accumulation in some people's homes reached a height of a meter. The volunteers had to work at full speed and with all of their minds to clear out all the damaged furniture.
A man lived alone inside the house. The bed, desk, and kitchenware in his home were all covered in mud. It was very stuffy inside and there was no electricity. Since it was dark, the Tzu Chi volunteers used the light feature on their mobile phones to see. We cleaned the areas over and over again, which in a way was like purifying our own minds in the process.
The spirit of Tzu Chi volunteers who overcame their fear of dirtiness, tiredness, and hard work in the face of disasters has deeply moved us. We're very grateful. Thank you so much.
After the volunteers help out the community restore to its former look, they receive so much in return, not only from the local residents, but they themselves feel so happy to be able to help make a difference. Our close journey continues, introducing you to two young people. In Hong Kong, Zhang Junlin is a 27-year-old who turns food into natural dyes. And Hong Weiyu is 25 years old and is a Taiwanese fashion designer who is also committed to reducing waste through sustainable fashion.
我想問，你啲咧唔靚嘅蓮藕可唔可以攞翻去畫畫用啊？唔該你。
In fact, most people in this market are enthusiastic and quite willing.
Junlin, age 27, is a native of Hong Kong and regularly visits the market, not to buy food, but to collect rotten and discolored fruits and vegetables.
Many times it looks like it can't be sold or eaten because the color may have changed and it may taste bad, so we just collect it.
In addition to rotten lotus roots, there's also this dried out corn. In this vegetable market, these fruits and vegetables which can't be sold are often discarded directly. Hong Kong generates more than 3,600 tons of kitchen waste every day. Junlin treasures this waste.
看到很多都是它的根部，或者是只有这个绿色的会有一点的用途。不过它是菜心，跟今天我们刚才拿的小白菜会有一点不一样。
In this corner of the vegetable market, there are a lot of fruits and vegetables that are regarded as garbage. It is a pity that Junlin didn't have the chance to tell them his true intention.
Take a look, my head is actually dyed with red cabbage.
The 25-year-old Weiyu is a clothing designer who graduated with a degree in textiles. He frequently visits Sanchong's Bihua Street, which is known for fabric.
The price of this fabric is more than half off what it should typically sell for.
In addition to cheap prices, more importantly, the quality is quite good, as these are textiles that factories can't sell, or our leftovers or samples all end up on this street. There's quite a lot here, and it's hard to imagine so many different styles and colors, but almost anything you want is here.
We should have more than 800 pieces at the moment. Most of the fabrics are unique with no repeats.
Here is the workshop that Junlin and his friends set up. All the textiles in the shop, including clothes, scarves, and cloth bags, are all dyed with fruits and vegetables.
When eating, we accidentally found that food can actually stain your clothes.
The red cabbage that was gotten from the vegetable market today will become the main ingredient for dyeing today.
When we make the dye, we break down this scrap and soak them for about a month.
Even the residue is not wasted, as everything is collected and allowed to soak for 1 month, as it totally becomes water-soluble, turning into a dye. But don't think that only red cabbage is needed to make a purple dye. The liquid added at this time is actually lemon juice, which changes color in less than 10 seconds. The two remaining colors are different according to their materials.
Many chemical dyes contain heavy metals, so we want to use some natural pigments to make dyes. Because they are all from plants, they can decompose quickly in nature.
所以他们就能够在天然之中分解。
Junlin studied environmental science in the university and has a basic understanding of chemistry. When he dyed cloth, he first did a test washing it in water.
它那个颜色
You can't compare it with chemical dyeing. It won't be a good color, but it won't fade either.
也不会是很严重掉色的情况。
The model is wearing gorgeous clothes that are all well tailored, which is the handiwork of Wei Yu.
在可持续时尚的这个结合上。
For sustainable fashion, we hope to do some clever tailoring to give these fabric new life.
剪裁安排，我们可以让这些布料有一个新生命。
All of the cloth used here has been recovered from scrap material.
那我们透过印花的形式。
We can use these yellow fabric by giving them new life through a different pattern with these printed forms. It can be regarded as covering up products with imperfections.
掩盖它原来的那个瑕疵品。
This batch of fabric that couldn't be sold has become the impetus for this fashion designer's creativity, as his whole goal is pursuing sustainable fashion.
For fashion designers, the way that we interact with our consumers is through our clothing. We can also educate the public through our clothing, as our clothes are literally the language that we use.
Sustainable fashion is beginning to attract more attention, but in general, its acceptance in the consumer market has yet to become mainstream.
我们工坊是
Our workshop is a place that does not encourage anyone to buy things like clothes or scarves. We can provide dyes that you can apply to your clothes, which I think will make you cherish it even more.
透过更多的新锐设计师加入，
Working with more cutting-edge designers allows us to better promote sustainable design and allow the public to learn more about it and join us.
让大众慢慢的了解这样的东西，并且加入我们的行列。
These two young people are 20-somethings, and although one lives in Hong Kong and one is in Taiwan, they both pursue a common theme of sustainability. As more young people become awakened to this issue, they will develop even more ways to be environmentally friendly to benefit the earth.
In our last episode, we talked about pineapple production in Taiwan. This time, we are introducing you to the second most populated fruit, bananas. Last winter, the market prices were very high, but this resulted in an oversupply situation this year, which in turn made prices fall dramatically. Experts believe that both domestic and export markets are struggling. It's due to an unorganized system within the agricultural sector.
If we let this continue to grow, it would only be worth 5 NT dollars per kilogram, so it's not worth it.
Mr. Deng, the banana farmer, did not even give a second thought in cutting down the ready-to-be-harvest banana tree.
This one can be picked in another 80 days, but it's going to be too cheap. I'm going to focus on the other ones, like this one, will at least sell for 20 NT dollars per kilogram.
This is the cost of a quality control. There are many seedlings on the same banana tree. The farmer would rather sacrifice the not-so-top-of-the-line harvest right now and wait till next winter for a much higher-priced winter banana harvest.
It's also that, if this stayed, there's more work.
In May and June, the average price of bananas was 5 NT dollars per kilogram, but the cost of a whole banana tree was 200 NT dollars. The output was about 20 kilograms, so in order for the farmers to break even, the price per kilogram should be at least 10 NT dollars. If the farmers are constantly losing profit, might as well not harvest the low-cost bananas at all.
Because this strain is already growing, if it stays, it will become a new shoot. This will not grow anymore, and coming February, there won't be a successful produce.
Last year, the market price of bananas per kilogram was over 80 NT dollars in both January and February. There was also more than 60 NT dollars per kilogram in March and April. Due to the high price wave, it gave farmers a boost to grow more and more bananas.
The price was so good, so everyone was desperately trying to plant more bananas. Due to the competition, the price has been dramatically dropped since, and now everyone is discouraged. They no longer want to plant anymore. The production volume is super high, while the price is getting lower and lower. It's very unstable.
But in May of this year, banana market prices began to dramatically decline, from nearly 30 NT dollars per kilogram in January to less than 10 NT dollars per kilogram in May.
It will continue to be very cheap until October 20th. For this year, you will start to see the price rising up around November.
Behind pineapples, bananas have the second largest fruit production in Taiwan. Like pineapples, bananas are facing unstable prices in domestic market sales, but even export markets are not looking optimistic. In the past 5 years, the #1 country for banana export is Japan, but it has been dramatically declining. Last year, there was only a total of 1,100 metric tons sold.
In the case of bananas, the sales before were relatively high. However, Taiwan is often affected by typhoons, so this will affect the stability of supplies.
There aren't so many bananas that meet the standards of exporters, and demand isn't so high, compared to domestic ones, which can stay longer on the banana trees, giving them more time to grow in size before transporting to the markets.
In addition, multinational companies will now directly go to the Philippines, Ecuador, and other places for bananas. This is why Taiwan's bananas exporting potential has greatly reduced. This change is deeply felt by many banana farmers. After all, Taiwan once had its glorious banana exporting era. This is an old photo from 1937, where bananas from Taichung were packaged and loaded in the Keelung port, ready to be shipped to Japan. At that time, the Provincial Fruit Marketing Cooperative was the only organization that handled fruit export, with bananas as the main leading exporting fruit.
现在全省50个社员代表，那以前只有台中的地区就这么多。
In 1967, the Provincial Fruit Marketing Cooperative were exporting 34.8 million boxes of bananas to Japan, accounting for about 80% of the Japanese banana market.
The annual Sino-Japanese Banana Trade Conference is held around every February and March. Its goal is to discuss the amount of banana that are needed for each month of the following year, including the prices.
Xie Qingtang has participated in the Sino-Japanese Banana Trade Conference in the past and was selected as one of Taiwan's top 10 outstanding agricultural experts last year. He knows Taiwan's agricultural scene inside and out, so he often serves as a consultant in many relevant technology developments within the field. It turns out that he himself was a child of banana farmers, so he was particularly interested. Xie Jingtang stated that the export of fruits in Taiwan was outstanding before the free-for-all system started in 2005. He believes that this was mainly due to the fact that the system of production and sales were all through the Provincial Fruit Marketing Cooperative. The current situation of agriculture is made up of many small farmers, which creates a chaotic environment for both production and sales.
Production personnel should be adequately trained for production work. There needs to be planning and quality control. Sales personnel must develop the market. This all needs to work as one entity in order for the business to succeed.
With turning small farmers into large farmers, he believes that it's more appropriate to combine production and sales, cooperatives, and other entities to form a proper company. Due to legalization, it will be on its way to become an influential unit for society. In this way, the farmers can return to simple farming. The production staff can set the plans for production, and the sales staff can actively search out market routes. All areas will be assigned and covered by the appropriate personnel, which is what's going to make Taiwan's agricultural scene more competitive to the outside world.
U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers collaborated with their charity organization, Open Doors for Multicultural Families, to hold an outdoor parent-child activity for the physically and mentally challenged children. We will leave you with these images. Thanks for watching.